Bonjour mes amis, et bienvenue au Pendu dans la Lune. Hello friends, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that this is my series in which I use Tarot de Marseille, Tarot de Marseille adjacent, or antique Italian decks to answer a question that I pull from my larger, primarily Rider-Waite-Smith-based tarot spread each week. So I do a larger spread, and I ask, how can we live life more intentionally in the coming week? And I lay out a huge spread and read that in a larger video, longer video. And then from that reading, I pull an extra question. And I use that question to do this video with, again, either Tarot de Marseille adjacent, or antique Italian decks, or at least, or iterations of those. Some of them are redrawings or recreations of them. So this week, the larger spread was, I titled it The Effective Creator. The Effective Creator. And if you haven't seen that one yet, I'll put a card up here for you to hop over and take a look at that, so you know where we're coming from. What it was the reading, and why did I pull this question from that reading? And that reading was the third in apparently a series on obstacles to living the intentional life. Now, the first week we ended up having a video about obstacles that were actually challenges and opportunities to grow. The second week, we ended up with another video about obstacles, and this one was about obstacles that were like stop signs, saying, just stop going and think. This week was more about obstacles that we place in our own way. And one way of thinking about it is that every obstacle is an obstacle that we co-create. We put in our own way to one extent or another. We are co-participants in the obstacles that appear in our lives. But this week's was generally about how we block ourselves, clearly block ourselves. And so in that spread, the Justice card came up twice. And the interesting thing about the Justice card, one of the Justice cards in that deck, in that spread, was that the association, the astrological association for that Justice card in that deck is Cancer. Why? Because that deck is based on the continental Tarot system, which means the system of Tarot, the esoteric Tarot, which predates the Golden Dawn, which predates the decks like Rider-Waite-Smith and the Thoth deck by Aleister Crowley and Lady Frida Harris. This continental Tarot system is the esoterica which formed around decks like Tarot de Marseille and the Spanish Tarots and the Italian Tarots. So this association of Justice with Cancer predates Golden Dawn and appeared in the spread. Another thing that was interesting to me about Justice and the star also appeared, is that Justice is 8 in Tarot de Marseille, also that deck I mentioned, the Continental Tarot decks. The star is 17. Now, they're in two different septenaries, right? They're one way of breaking down the Tarot and looking at paths and groupings of cards and how maybe those groupings may mirror each other or inform each other. One way of breaking it down is into separate septenaries, 1 through 7, which would be the Magus to the Chariot, and then 8 to 14, which would be Justice in Tarot de Marseille and the Continental Tarots, from Justice to Temperance, which is 14, and then 15 would be from the Devil to 21, which would be the world. And then the Fool just wanders around and is outside of all of that, or is the 0 card, or is the 22 card, or there are different ways of describing the le mat, yeah, the unnumbered card. But so there's that way of looking at it. There are other ways of looking for matches and mirrors in the major arcana, and another way is numerological. And there are 2 ways of doing that numerologically. There's the way I do it and the way a lot of other people do it. That's why I call myself the Hanged Man in the Moon. Now, maybe you do it as well. Some people think of it as the Roman numerals. So it goes from 1 to 10, the X. And then at 11 is an X and a 1, right? So that the 11 would be a match between 1 and 11. 2 would match with 12. So it's like you just take away that front 10x and go on the remaining numbers. And then so 21 would be 1 again, right? I do it a different way. I do it more of an Arabic numeral addition way. So for me, when we get to 10, 10 is actually 1 to me. So 1 and 10 match up. 2 and 11 match up. Because 11 is 1 and 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. So 3 would be 12 and 13 would match up for me. So doing it that way, Justice and the Star match up, 8 and 17. 7 plus 1, it's 8. So both of those showing up in the same, in one part of the same, of that spread. What am I trying to say? Both of those cards showing up in the same part of the spread was also informative to me. Yeah, at the bottom of the spread, there were 3 major arcana cards. The Fool, unnumbered card, the Justice card, and then the Star card, which made me think, okay, these are really connected. And so I wanted to know what's going on. So finally we get to the question. I wanted to tell you why I pulled this question out. The question is, what is the role of Justice on the path to the Star in the intentional life? What is the role of Justice, 8, on the path of the Star, 17, in the intentional life? Does that make sense? So, friends, in just a moment, I'm going to show you the cards. No, first I'll show you the question all written out, nice and pretty for you to read, and then I'll show you the cards, and then we'll take a look. Here we go. Isn't that a beautiful deck? Those cards are beautifully drawn. They're by Artisan Tarot. And this is the first deck that they actually put out. This is their Nicolas Conver deck. And I have mine in their beautiful rosewood box, which is lovely. But it turns out the stain on the rosewood has stained my cards just a little bit. So, just to let you know, I love this box so much. I would not use this box with the cards, even though the stain is coming off on the cards a little bit, because I love it so much. And okay, so now my deck is looking a little bit more antiqued. That's a good thing, right? It's Tarot de Marseille. But Artisan Tarot redrew this deck beautifully, amazingly. And you could see that in the cards. And if you're interested in the deck, I will have a link below for you to hop over to their site and you can order a deck of your own or look at their other decks. They've got about 4 or more now. The decks that come to my mind right now are the Conver. They also did a Dodal. They did a Noblet. I've got all of those, and they just came out with a Via V. And I'm still waiting for my copy of that. But they've got 4 decks I know already available. So go to their website, look at this one, look at the others, purchase one, purchase more. I do not get any financial remuneration if you use the link below. It's just there for your convenience. So I highly recommend it. These cards shuffle so beautifully. They're casino grade matte cardstock, and they're thin, but they're really flexible, and they're durable, and yay, Artisan Tarot. So, and thank you, Artisan Tarot. Here's the reading. We started from left to right with the 10 of Cups, then we had the 3 of Cups, and then we had the Page of Cups. Interesting, right? Why is it interesting? Well, for one thing, the Justice card is Cancer, right? The Star card, whether you see it as Aquarius and it's an air sign or not, there is a lot of water in the Star card, right? Especially in Rider-Waite-Smith decks. What do we see? Oh, also in Tarot de Marseille, what do we see? We see an unclothed figure, usually female, kneeling in front of a body of water with 2 vessels of liquid, pouring them out. One into the water and one onto the earth. So it's a lot. There's a lot of water in the Star card as well. In many iterations of the Star card, even if it's not that figure. For example, in the Llewellyn Tarot, which I just used in a recent video explaining my tarot spread that I use for my weekly RWS video, the Star card appeared from the Llewellyn, and even in the Llewellyn, even though it's not the woman with the pots, there's this lake there. So there's almost always water involved with the Star card. So all of the answer to my question, what is the role of justice on the path to the star, all of them being cups, water suit, made absolute sense and was brilliant, and surprising in how brilliant it was to me. Almost as if I had gone and intentionally drawn those cards out rather than shuffling and laying them out as one does reading tarot. So, again, from the 10 to the page. And even though the page is looking to the left, brain fart. Because the page is looking to the left, that is the direction I think I'm going to read these cards in. So we'll start with the page. What is the role of justice in the path to the star? So we start with the page. The page, who is the page? This page, beautiful. We see that the page is holding an open cup. There's a scarf or some kind of clothing which is both draped over the shoulder and somehow connected to the cup, reminding me a little bit of the way a chalice is carried in a liturgical procession in Roman Catholic traditions. Often the chalice is covered with the stole of the presider or by an acolyte and carrying the cup in a long procession. Acolyte. So this card also reminds me a bit of an acolyte to a liturgical celebration, perhaps in a liturgical procession. So what does it mean? Well, it can mean things like happy surprise, but it's also the card of the dreamer, right? It's the card of sensitivity. Sensitivity was important in the larger reading from this week. Accepting intuition. Now the cup is open for us to accept and perceive wisdom, knowledge, information from the waters within, from our intuition. This is also the one who's, you see the flowers in his hair, or her hair, or their hair, reminding us of the ingenue, now the inexperienced one. The one who is inexperienced with love outside of the family unit or out into inexperienced with love outside of the family unit, or just long out of the habit of being in love. And the pages, for example, in the VIV, are not these young blushing children or teenage looking people. There are some old looking folks as pages in that deck. So it could also be somebody who's out of experience, out of the habit of loving relationships. It's also the emotional world, which both entices and frightens. It's like, I want to, but I don't know. I want to, but oh, I don't know. That kind of feeling. It's the heart saying yes, and then no, and then yes, and then no, and yes, and no, I don't know. Yeah? It's that insecure, unsure one that wants to development, trying to understand one's feelings. So, what is the role of justice? We start with that. We start with, okay, so when we're considering justice, a lot of times we think of justice as an air card, right? Libra. But again, justice is Cancer in the deck that I was using. It's a water sign. So we meet the water of justice, of me seeing how my actions affect those around me, seeing how others' actions affect me and others. And it's that emotional understanding of how we affect each other and how karma is created from that. Desired karma and undesired karma. The karma that we want to expand and grow, or the karma that we want to wash off of ourselves. The results of our actions and the actions around us. So there's that emotional connection of the Justice card that was emphasized in that deck, and so we get this guy. Now, so we recognize that we're inexperienced. We might want to take advantage of our intuition. We may want to take advantage of our sensitivity. Maybe even listen to our dreams. Which the dream is also a little bit part of the star card, though I would associate it more with the moon card. But the dreams, those first dreams after we've started the healing process from the tower, from disruption. So we start here with the page, and the page moves into the 3 of Cups. Nice progression, right? From the 3 to the 10. The 3 of Cups is communality and community, the emotional bonds that we have with others. And also uninhibited emotional expression. Not being afraid to tell each other what we're thinking, what we're feeling. The experience that we're having, the emotional experience that we are having. Whether it's a joyful one or one that is a little uncomfortable or painful. We can share that. We're open to that. We're open to the other. We are open to the other, and from that a third is born. The connection is born. But also the new is born. The birth of new love. And the 2, there's the meeting of the 2, but there's a little bit, it's not sure. It's the meeting of lovers without the bond happening. Here, the bond has happened. Fresh and inexperienced, yes, but the bond has formed. The new thing has formed in the meeting of the 2. So it's that fervent, youthful love, that first, the honeymoon of attraction. And not attraction so much like the wands are attraction, but the emotional heart connection. Fervent rediscovery of love. If you were the one who has not experienced it in a long time. Yeah, remember there were the 2, and there are more possibilities for why we don't feel secure in our exploration of loving connections. It could be because we've never done it before. Couldn't be because we haven't done it in a long time. Could be because our recent one was not so good. So whether we are the ingenue or the experienced one who's been hurt, or we're the one who hasn't done it in a while, here we come into that new, fresh, haven't done it in a while, or the newly healed relationship, the fresh one, the fervent rediscovery of love, or the discovery of love. The working in common with doing something together when it's fed by an emotional connection as well. Fed by feelings rather than interests. Have you ever done that? You've worked with somebody else, you've created with somebody else, you've interacted with somebody else, doing something, not so much because you're all interested in the same things, but because you love each other so much and you want to be involved in what the other one is involved in. There's that here too. So it's that new connection, that new revelation, that new interaction and community. And our openness to expression, to receiving and giving emotional insight. Which moves us to the 10. The 10 of Cups. The culmination of the suit. Before we move into the page again. The 10 of Cups. Finding peace. Feeling complete. Preparing for the next steps. The 10s prepare for the next suit, right? So this could be preparing for moving emotion into the material realm of action and work and doing stuff. Creation. Of opportunities. You notice this top of this cup looks a little bit like a coin. The coins from the coin suit, the denari suit in Tarot de Marseille. So that could be the next step that we're going to. From the fullness of emotion to the new opportunity of creation. In the physical realm. Creation of stuff. And health. And home, perhaps. It's also assuming responsibility for others, yeah? There's this one big the one big cup at the top, which is pouring out and feeding those below. Now, some people think of this thing here, the one that looks like a coin, as being a cup, a cap, meaning that this cup is tilted over, but it's not feeding anything. To me, I don't see it that way. I don't see it as the cap. I see it as the inside of the cup, and the liquid is not visible, but it's pouring out. It's pouring out onto and feeding those cups below. So yeah, this is assuming responsibility for others, pouring out emotion on others, not to overwhelm them, but to feed them. Also universal love, Christ-like love. The love of the servant leader. And that was part of that big spread this week as well. That servant leader, we want to move into the servant leader. And then that's what we did here. The heart has attained its fullness, and it's possible to create and take action from here. Start manifesting. So the Justice card in that larger spread was also at first part of the obstacle. And then it became part of the solution. And it became part of the solution in the emotional connection with others and understanding the emotional interaction that we have with others. And also listening to Sophia. The spirit of wisdom, of justice, was behind the justice figure in that card. Hearing, feeling, receiving the instruction from Sophia, which is part of this card as well, right? So that we start here. We start by intuiting, by receiving information, by understanding, recognizing that we are a little bit of the fool in this suit right now. We haven't developed, we haven't grown. We're a little bit of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. We're not ready yet. So we recognize that first. And then we take, here, we in this card, we take stock of who we are, and we recognize that we are not there yet, but we've arrived at the door of connection, of understanding, and receiving intuitive and sacred wisdom. And then we move into here, right? The 3. We're starting to be able to share. We're not only recognizing our impact on others, we're sharing it. And now we're starting to move in the direction of the star from justice. Because now we're interacting. We're creating. We're opening ourselves to create with others, to share with others, to begin doing stuff not because the stuff interests us so much as the interaction with others interests us. We love each other more. We love each other so much that we interact with each other and we work together, we create with each other, and then we assume our place as feeders of the master servant and feed each other's with our own emotional sustenance, with the manna of love. Christ-like. And because we feel complete, because we're ready for the next step, we're ready to start moving as the star points the way in the direction of our fulfillment and our path of intention as we live our intentional lives. Does that make sense? Can you see how this person does this and gets here, that being the path of justice to the star? If it does make sense, let me know in the comments below, please. If it doesn't make sense, let me know in the comments below, please. I would love to hear from you. Friends, if you are still here, hit the thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you got something out of this. You felt, for good or ill, hopefully for good, impacted by your experience with this reading. And then YouTube knows that other people might be interested in it as well, and eyes will be drawn to the channel. Also, if you have not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and the alarm bell so that you get notifications of when I upload videos. Make sure that your alarms are turned on so that you do get those notifications. And comment below. I would really love to hear from you. What do you think? Would you read these cards differently? What do you think of the page? Do you have another understanding of the page? Do you have another understanding of that cup at the top of the 10? So let me know. Let's interact. And if you want a private reading from me, as always, there will be an email in the description box below. Send me an email. Say, I want a reading. We can do it with Rider-Waite-Smith. We can do it with Tarot de Marseille, an Italian deck. We can do a big old spread. We can do a little bitty spread. We can answer any question or any concern that you have. We can explore your life or our lives together. Whatever you want. Let me know. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.